And remember, we offer personal service you can expect and deserve from a local agent. Come see me, Buddy Wilson, your new country financial agent in Clinton, where personal service is priority number one.
Let's swing open the farm gate together every day on WHOW. I'm Stu Ellis, your host of the long-running agriculture feature called The Farm Gate. I bring the latest news and information on where agriculture is and where it's going to WHOW Ag listeners several times a day. From tariffs to treaties, from the Board of Trade to the running board on your truck, I cover Central Illinois agriculture every day on The Farm Gate. Hear it all on WHOW's many platforms, on the radio or online. Join me, Stu Ellis, for The Farm Gate.
News time, 8 minutes after 8 o'clock on this Friday morning. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 8 o'clock newscast. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. The DeWitt County Board Thursday night agreed to assess a fine of $5,000 to Enel Green Power for not curtailing its Alta Farms 2 wind turbines during the storms of June 29th. But Carter chairs the DeWitt County Board's Land Use Committee. He says Enel has agreed to curtail the turbines when thunderstorm or tornado warnings are issued, both of which were issued on June 29th during a Derecho storm that rolled through DeWitt County.
We had a lengthy conversation in our meeting and members of the public, and we believe that Enel violated the curtailment agreement on that, I believe it was June 25th storm that came through here when the high winds and tornado alert was issued by the Weather Service. When we looked into it, even though the National Weather Service admitted that they either overlooked or somehow forgot to notify Enel, it was our feelings and understanding that condition 1 of our special use, Enel agreed to automatically curtail if the warnings were issued. Our conversation, Dee had a conversation, they admitted they did not do that. We feel that to let the first instance go by would be a very big mistake on our part. The Land Use Committee highly recommends that we proceed with the efforts to place a fine on it for the violation of failure to curtail.
Terry Ferguson is the author of the condition in the special use permit and felt initially they could give Enel a pass on the mistake, but changed his mind after reading the entirety of the ordinance and its wording.
As the author of that condition, my first thought was that the weather agency never contacted them, so let them off the hook. But the condition as written in the special use permit requires them to curtail whenever there's a severe storm warning. We had a storm warning that turned into a tornado warning, and they ignored it. They didn't do anything. So I feel they need to. They need to own up to it. They made a mistake.
We feel their employees, place of work, they operate out of a operating center at Mount Pulaski, Logan County. Those employees got the same alert that we all got at our homes and places of businesses. So they were aware the alert was out there and they failed to take action.
Joe Whitty points the board to some of the specific language in the special use permit and believes Enel should have curtailed the turbines based on several examples.
Look at the second to last page where it has our ordinance or our condition 1. Keep in mind Alta Farms proposed condition 1 all the way up through probably 2/3 of it, up to sharing the data with the National Weather Service. And so that was their proposal. They were going to curtail. They were going to share the data. They were going to curtail for the duration of the event. And then the county added additional requirements. And specifically that we had to define and that they shall enter into a written agreement with the National Weather Service. That's the key to me. Is that they're entering into an agreement with the National Weather Service doesn't negate everything else that they proposed. We accepted what they proposed and tagged on additional requirements. I guess a couple other points. There was some talk in land use about, well, they weren't notified, so maybe a fine wasn't warranted. On the National Weather Service agreement, it's number 6, the curtailment request is where that notification comes into play. I mean, that's saying that if the National Weather Service or WFO, Weather Forecasting Office, wants an additional curtailment for some other reason, that's outlining when they would notify Enel or Alta Farms in this case. And it's outlining the protocol for that. If you look at some of the other conditions in here, National Weather, they're saying the request to curtail would be rare. There's a maximum required duration of 60 minutes. If workload allows, National Weather Service will contact. That totally contradicts what we require in the first several parts of our condition 1. And I think the key point is in number 9, they acknowledge that all this other protocol that they're outlining, number 9 is saying, oh, in addition to all of that, there's also the DeWitt County Condition 1, which we have to abide by. And they label that automatic curtailment. So we've got requested curtailment by the National Weather Service above and beyond what our Condition 1 requires, and then what our condition is automatic.
Whitty believes there is enough to fine Enel, but offered the question, do they fine Enel for 2 events or 1? On June 29th, both the tornado warning and thunderstorm warning were issued within the footprint of the wind turbines.
I think it's clear to me that there's a fine. I guess what I would propose, if you look at the Condition 1 where we have the language about the fine, we say severe weather warnings or tornado warnings is a $5,000 fine per event. Now, what is an event? There was 2 warnings that they did not curtail. And in my opinion, you could justify $10,000. $5,000 for ignoring the severe weather, the thunderstorm warning, as well as $5,000 for the tornado. And I think that's maybe one thing that we've got to figure out here. But it's clear that some penalty is in order because they did not curtail and they acknowledged that. It was supposed to be automatic, regardless of notification.
Megan Myers and Christina Deerwester both agreed that Enel needs to be put on notice. They're being monitored to hold up their end of the agreement. They agree not taking action in this circumstance would be a mistake.
Money's no object to them, so we can fine them until who knows when. We just need for them to make certain that our community is safe.
Well, I think it's important for us to follow through this because this is the first time that they have been non-compliance, and they need to know additional non-compliances are not going to be allowed to go forward either. So I think it would also point out, hopefully I didn't interrupt you, but I think it would also point out that we are paying attention to what they're doing. You know, we didn't just say, oh, you were supposed to curtail, did you? You know, we actually paid attention and followed through with our original plan. It's a light slap on the wrist for a company that has that much money, but it's still showing that we're paying attention.
State's Attorney Dan Markwell believes the notice, because it is not litigation, should come from the county board. Carter offered the suggestion Administrator Dee Dee Rentmeister, who is, also serving as the zoning officer, be the one to send the notice.
Who's going to issue the notice of violation?
I think Mr. Markwell will probably have to be involved in that. We talked about that about 3 months ago at the Land Use Committee when we pointed to the proposed language to actually address this when it happened. And it's his recommendation that we not have specific language, that we wait till it happens.
My suggestion would be that if you're going to send a letter making a request that they pay a fine, that come from the board. This is not litigation at this point.
Right.
So I don't think it should come to my office. Just a letter explaining that such and such a date.
Well, that letter should probably then come from the zoning officer, and I would assume that you would help her draft that letter.
Well, I was going to say, I would think the zoning officer and have the chair of the board sign it. That between the two of them, they come up with the letter and send.
But yeah, I'll be happy to review any letter that goes out.
I think.
As it pertains to how much to fine Enel for the multiple warnings they did not curtail, Whitty believes filing them for the events of the day was sufficient, and board chair Dan Matthews agreed.
A couple questions. We said an appropriate amount. What is the appropriate amount?
Yes,
And we might amend it.
Per the agreement. I mean,
There is only one amount, isn't there?
No, well,
Is there one violation or two
per
violations?
event.
For event.
Yeah, 1 event or 2.
That's the
Well,
question.
had they curtailed during the first event, curtailment would have continued into the next one.
So if we interpret it that way, it's for the duration of that event. The second event, the tornado warning, they would have overlapped. And so you call that one event. But I just think we need to be careful, and maybe that's something for the letter, that, we are interpreting that as one event because of the overlap. I don't want them to think they're getting fined for a tornado warning. They don't have to curtail for, a thunderstorm warning.
Right.
You should have made that.
Yeah, I do. I think that's, yeah. I think the appropriate in this is one fine for the event of that day, but there's one at 8 in the morning and one at 7 p.m. Obviously, there's appeared to be one event.
Whitty also insisted on getting a written reason from Enel as to why they did not curtail the turbines and get written reassurance it would not happen again. The board unanimously approved, fining Enel Green Energy $5,000. We stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. A look at local sports is next.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks. Ace now offers free assembly and free delivery, so it's never been